To the headlines.
And straight to that developing story we've been watching all morning here as multiple law enforcement agencies are at the scene of a shooting that happened late last night right at the entrance to Coast Guard Island, Alameda. The location had been the scene of a day-long protest. We had that part for you live yesterday on Mornings on 2. Ali Rasmus there again with a look at still an active scene behind you, Ali.
Yeah, law enforcement agents expect to be out here for the next several hours investigating this shooting that happened late last night. Right now, where we are is Oakland's Embarcadero and Livingston, and the entire block behind us is closed off for all the law enforcement and police investigators. You can look onto Coast Guard Island Bridge, which is just about a block away from us, and you can see it is lit up. Some of the equipment that investigators have been using still in place there, and they're collecting and gathering evidence as they have been throughout the morning and the overnight hours. They're investigating a shooting that happened here just after 10 o'clock last night. Law enforcement officers who'd been in position on the Coast Guard Island Bridge for most of the day opened fire on a U-Haul truck that started backing up into the entrance of the bridge. A KTVU photographer was filming as the incident unfolded. There was about 10 seconds of gunfire followed by some yelling. A law enforcement source confirms to KTVU that 2 people were struck by the bullets, the driver of that U-Haul and a second person not in the vehicle. Now, we don't know the extent of their injuries or the conditions, but about 12 to 14 hours before that shooting happened, the entrance to Coast Guard Island was the scene of a demonstration to protest the planned deployment of federal agents to conducting immigration operations before the president called that off. A witness who was interviewed by police say the man driving that U-Haul, he says, was not part of the protest earlier in the day and had only arrived on the scene about an hour before.
He did not interact with the protesters. He did not interact with the rest of us. He barely got outside of the U-Haul. Eventually, he broke through the barrier that we had out. He drove through the barrier that we had out in reverse and then reversed towards the Coast Guard. They stacked up, they drew, they threatened to shoot him if he went any further. He burned rubber right back at him.
And that's when the shooting occurred. But by the time it had happened, most of the protest crowd had already left. There were only a handful of people still in that crosswalk leading up to the bridge following the protests, that much more active and mostly peaceful protests that had happened earlier in the day. A source confirms that the Coast Guard police are the ones who fired their weapons, but the FBI is the lead agency investigating what led up to the shooting. And just in the last hour, we've also seen back out here live, you can see some FBI agents now walking to the scene. There's some tents set up where a lot of investigators are doing their work. The California Highway Patrol is in charge here of closing off the streets. Alameda Police and Oakland Police were earlier in the overnight hours involved in closing off some of this street, but no longer. Live in Oakland, Ali Rasmus, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Ali, thank you. Across the bay here, protesters also gathered in San Francisco in response to reports of increased immigration enforcement. Video here from Citizen App shows a group of people marching down Market Street. The march started at Embarcadero Plaza, where one woman told us even without mass arrests, she and others needed to make their voices heard.
It's all the more important that we stay in the streets and that we stay activated, because really I think an organized community is the reason that Daniel Lurie felt pressured to make that call and why Donald Trump did back down in the first place.
Faith, labor, and community leaders released a joint statement signed by more than 150 organizations rejecting the manufactured chaos, pain, and damage this invasion threatens to unleash on the Bay Area. Dozens also rallied in front of San Jose City Hall last night to show their support for the South Bay's immigrant communities. Organizers say despite yesterday's announcement from the president and San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie that National Guards are not coming to that city, they're still worried.
Our time now 7:06. While President Trump says he called off plans to send a surge of federal troops to San Francisco, it's still not clear if that includes increased immigration enforcement. The president announced that yesterday morning as the first federal troops were arriving at Coast Guard Island in Oakland. The president says San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie convinced him to hold off on the planned surge, at least for now.
I told him the same thing that I have told our residents,
San Francisco is on the rise. But having the military and militarized immigration enforcement in our city will hinder our recovery.
Now, President Trump says Salesforce CEO Mark Benioff and NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang also helped to convince him to back off on his planned surge in San Francisco.